First things first, it's impossible to say what I want to say about this movie without going into specifics, so this is my spoiler warning for the whole video. 2009's Avatar is one of my favorite movies. I rank it pretty high when it comes to James Cameron, and that means something considering James Cameron is my favorite movie director of all time. I'm 26 years old and I still remember watching Avatar in theaters. It was one of my first experiences with 3D movies, and having to wear glasses on top of my regular glasses, that was a pain in the ass, but I managed to survive and enjoy the film. Unlike most people, the 3D aspect is something I don't give a shit about. I like Avatar for Avatar. It's a science fiction story about a guy becoming a giant blue cat person, betraying his species for a sexy blue cat person, leading a revolution against an evil corporation, and a bunch of beautifully constructed action sequences. What's not to like? Even the score is epic. And I don't care what this YouTube video says about the score, they are wrong. The music is awesome. So, needless to say, I've been anticipating the Avatar sequels for some time. In fact, one of my core memories is back when I was still in high school reading a magazine article about James Cameron working on 3 sequels. One of them was supposed to be a prequel, and the movies were coming out, starting with Avatar 2, in December of 2014. 2014 was my idea of the future back then. Nowadays, I work with kids who were born in 2014. There are young humans that have fully transitioned from non-existence into being 8 and 9-year-olds. I don't like that. It's scary. I want to go back. 2014 came and went, as did 2015, 16, 17, and every year from then until now. We are finally living in a world where an Avatar sequel has actually been released. I'm pretty sure that means World War III is right around the corner. This movie was a massive letdown, I'm not gonna lie. It kind of killed my interest in the franchise moving forward. I'm going to show you a clip of 2 different scenes that take place more than an hour apart from each other, and this will hopefully be a good example of how frustrating the story in Avatar: The Way of Water is at times.
We cannot let you bring your war here.
1 hour later.
You brought this upon us! You!
Why are you acting surprised? An hour ago you didn't want to take them in because they were running away from war and have demon blood in them. But now you are reenacting the Pikachu meme? Do these blue cat people have Alzheimer's or something? It's so irritating when stories do this type of thing. Have characters act like previous scenes never happened in the first place. It makes the story come off lazy and clumsy, like the people behind making sure the narrative flows together and one thing leads to another took off for the day. What the hell happened, James? Were you jerking off in the ocean or something? I don't get how after 4 years this was the best script for Avatar 2. It's filled with contrivances, tropes, and unnecessary plot points that don't add anything to the main story. Let's start from the beginning. The film opens with a prologue of what happened during the first years after the humans left. Jake narrates the birth of his son, his other children, and what they have been up to. I loved all of that, especially the bit where Kiri calls Loak penis face. It's nice when creators are self-aware of their creations. Then the humans return to Pandora. Visually, this sequence is phenomenal. My problem is the music in the background. It sounds like a ripoff of something I would hear in a Star Wars movie. It doesn't sound like Avatar. It takes me out of the scene and makes me think about the fact that this movie doesn't have the same composer as Avatar. James Horner unfortunately passed away in 2015, and his replacement is severely lacking. The music throughout this entire movie is either forgettable, distracting, or just there. It never adds or complements whatever is happening on screen. It's a real step back when compared to the original. Afterwards, we have a reenactment of the Taliban raiding the Afghanistan government. I'm joking, but that is honestly what this sequence reminded me of. The Na'vi tribe led by Jake has been attacking the humans for about a year now, and the imagery of the blue cat people stealing and using RPGs and whatnot from the humans, it speaks for itself. I love everything about this sequence. Let's move forward to Kiri, Loak, and Spider in the science lab. Kiri and Loak are fine. I love Loak teasing Kiri on the possibility of Norm being her father. My problem is Spider, the actor that plays him. His acting sucks. For most of the movie, he's okay, I guess, but in this scene, his performance is especially distracting because how terrible it is. And when the subject matter of fathers comes up and Spider says the line about how sometimes it's not great to know who your father was, I had a bad feeling in my mouth. It makes no fucking sense that Quaritch had a son back in Avatar. Nothing about the first movie even hints on him being a father. This makes as much sense as finding out that Jake has another twin brother, that there were 3 twins instead of 2, and the third brother happens to be another Marine or some bullshit. There's no real setup. It's random. I know the theme of parenthood is something Cameron wants to bring to all 4 of the sequels, but you just need Jake and Neytiri for that. There was no need to make up a son for Quaritch. Speaking of Quaritch, the way this movie brings him back is something out of the mind of a teenager. It turns out that just before the final battle in the original Avatar, the RDA, the evil human company, had their top soldiers undergo a procedure that copied their memories and personality and stored them in case they died and needed to be brought back to life through cloning technology. In the first movie, the only reason the RDA had to use Jake was because his twin brother died, and it would have been a waste of an avatar's body. They were lucky that Tom Sully had a twin brother that could connect with his avatar. Even better with Jake being a former Marine, he could help with security. But this movie introduces the idea that the RDA could have just cloned Tom and used that clone instead of Jake. This is what bad sequels do. They introduce cheap ideas that aren't well thought of and don't work with what came before. This is not as bad, but it's pretty close with the somehow Palpatine return from Rise of Skywalker. It's hard to say the same man behind Terminator 2 and Aliens was also in charge of this film. This does not feel like a James Cameron movie. Afterwards, we have the evil avatars led by Quaritch capturing Jake's children in what is one stretched-out action sequence. This leads me to another problem. This movie is bizarrely structured, and I think I figured out why. You see, Avatar: The Way of Water is not really a movie. This is 10 episodes, averaging around 90 minutes each, of a television series put together in a blender. I'm not kidding, you could actually edit this movie into 10 episodes and it would probably help with the pacing. I know this because I've done it. This is how you divide this film in 10 different parts. This is not a standalone movie. There are plot threads that go nowhere and it doesn't feel like a movie. It doesn't have the usual 3-act structure. It begins nicely, but then it transitions towards a more episodic format of storytelling. It feels random and not very compelling thanks to the weak writing. There's no precision in the storytelling. Things just happen and we are watching those things happening. Nothing leads to anything. It's very lazy the way this story plays out. I already mentioned how cheap I thought the way they brought back Quaritch was, but now let's focus on Jake. After this fight scene, Jake wants to run away. This is both stupid and incoherent. Jake's entire character arc in this movie is about figuring out he needs to fight to protect his family and home. This may not sound like the stupidest thing in the world if you haven't seen the first movie and don't know who Jake is, but considering this is a sequel and how Jake realized he couldn't run away and had to help the Na'vi fight the humans in the original film, this arc James Cameron came up for Jake in this movie is retarded. You are forcing a character to make a contrived decision just because you want to show different visuals. I hate when stories need to dumb down characters so the plot can happen. I hate it in Spider-Man No Way Home, and I hate it here. They have one encounter with Quaritch's clone, and all of a sudden Jake wants to run away. Even though this is the first time Jake meets the clone, he tells Neytiri that Quaritch is hunting them. He makes a statement like he has read the script. It would make sense if this was the 3rd or 4th time they run into each other, but it wasn't. It was the first time after more than 15 years. This is rushed storytelling at its finest. And why does Jake think that by running away that's going to help protect the tribe and his family? At this point in the movie, the humans have Spider, and Spider knows everything about the tribe. Even if Jake and his family escape, what does that mean for all the other Na'vi left behind? They're fucked, that's what it means. Jake doesn't know the humans want the entire moon, all he knows is that they want unobtainium. He also knows that the floating mountains, the place his tribe is currently at, is filled with unobtainium. It's the reason they float in the first place. It's one of the magical properties of unobtainium. What makes him think the people won't die if he's not there? Does Jake not remember the first movie? Plenty of Na'vi were killed just because they were in the way. Even if Quaritch's clone is just after Jake, that's no guarantee that he won't kill other Na'vi to get him. This is such an idiotic reason to make the characters run away. If they wanted a real motive for Jake and the family to leave, then just have the humans destroy everything and kill most of the tribe. With a nuke or something. Leave only a few survivors. Make the entire family real refugees. This would have given more stakes in the story and also wouldn't have made Jake's decision to leave everything behind come off really sudden and really stupid. I mean, they even leave Neytiri's mom behind and have a random character, whom I don't remember if they were in the first movie, become the new clan leader. It's also poorly executed, rushed and dumb. Cameron has talked a lot about Jake and Neytiri being parents and how that's going to affect their characters moving forward. Is becoming retarded a consequence of being a parent? Or was sex with Neytiri too rough for Jake's human mind to handle and she literally fucked his brains out? Because this Jake is 10 times dumber than the Jake from the first film. I don't particularly love Jake Sully as a fictional character, but I hate what they did to him in order to make this movie work. And don't think it was just him. Neytiri also got the short end of the stick. Zoe Saldana's character in this movie only serves two purposes: to cry and to look badass in generic action scenes. Every time something bad happens, Neytiri is there crying. That's her role for most of the film. She also has perfect aim whenever there's an action scene, but that's another issue. The fact that some of the action scenes are so one-sided, it's ridiculous. You thought those new helicopter things with blue glass were made to protect humans against Na'vi arrows? You were wrong. It seems most of the humans' new weapons and vehicles are useless against the Na'vi. It's hard to call Neytiri a main character in this movie when she's really not. She doesn't play any significant role in the story. The only thing she does that could be considered her moment is by far the most generic plot point in the entire film. She blackmails Quaritch by threatening to kill Spider, his son. Kylo Ren killing Han Solo was less predictable than this. The new Na'vi characters they introduce are fine, although Netayan should have had a lot more presence in the story for his death to have any real meaning. I still can't get over the fact that they had the audacity to kill him in the exact same way they killed Grace in the first movie. Is this going to become a thing in all Avatar movies? We have the good guys running from the bad guys, they managed to get away, but it turns out one character was actually shot off screen and they die immediately afterwards. God, that was such weak sauce. Netayan should have been the one to form a connection with the clan leader's daughter. Loak should have been a total outcast and have less screen time with other characters. Kiri, being this franchise's Jesus Christ, her birth is a miracle after all, is interesting. I wish there was more to it instead of just being another plot thread that needs to be dealt with in another movie. Guess that statement about each of the Avatar sequels standing on their own as a complete film was bullshit. Tuk was just there, she played the role of the cute kid, she was fine. There was this one moment where she came across as bipolar though. On one scene, she's hopping and being happy and excited about her new home. A few seconds later, she's crying and wants to go home. She's either bipolar, or this is another example of the movie having consistency issues. Now let's talk about the two fat Australian dudes hunting whales. They should have been cut from the movie. What the hell was that plotline anyway? We now have a new type of unobtainium? Whatever that golden liquid from the Tolkien was? Armorita? There was no need for any of that. You've already established that the humans are there to colonize the entire moon. We don't need to rehash old plot points, especially when they don't play any significant role in the film. The conflict between the humans and the Na'vi is inevitable at this point. Quaritch is hunting Jake, and the humans want to pacify the Na'vi. There was no need for this bullshit. Maybe this immortality liquid is going to be important for Avatar 3, but in this movie, it was utterly pointless and worthless. There's only one positive thing I want to say about this movie. I like how the Sea Tribe of Na'vi knew about English and the Sky People before we meet them. The way it's played out, it's pretty clear there's history between Jake and this tribe. I like when stories have moments like this. It creates real depth and makes this fictional universe feel more authentic, like there's real history here. Other than that, this movie was just a massive disappointment. I'm giving Avatar The Way of Water a 4 out of 10. And that's sad, considering I give the original Avatar a 7 or an 8 out of 10. I wanted this movie to be great. I've been waiting for this shit since 2014. Now I feel like I know how some Star Wars fans felt after The Last Jedi came out. That's how disappointing this movie was for me. Anyway, see you next time.